Every year, scams and fraud cost Vermonters millions of dollars. So who's looking out for the little guy? And what can you do to protect yourself? Today on Across the Fence, we're sitting down with Vermont's Attorney General to learn about the 45-year-old UVM-based program that's fighting scams and putting money back in your pocket. Hello, Vermont. To get ready for this episode, the Attorney General's office shared some numbers with us about scams reported to their office in 2025. And it comes out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 reported scams a day, which feels like a lot for a small state. So, who's getting scammed and what's being done about it? Those are great questions for my guest today. Charity Clark has served as Vermont's Attorney General since 2023. Before that, she served in the AG's office as an Assistant Attorney General and the first Chief of Staff appointed to lead the office's Public Protection Division. And I think actually you said that you were the Chief of Staff for the whole office,
yes,
but also very involved in, I think the long story short, you've also been very involved in consumer protection issues throughout your entire career.
Yes.
And brought that with you to your service in the AG's office.
That's right.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
I know you have a very busy schedule. Political offices can be opaque to those of us who are on the outside. Can you start by telling us a little bit about the AG's office? I've heard it described as being the state's top cop. Is that accurate? What does the AG do?
It really depends on the state. In some states, the Attorney General really is the top cop. There's no other prosecutors in the state who do the state's prosecutions. Here in Vermont, that's a smaller profile. The Attorney General is the lawyer to the state. The state needs whatever kind of law needs to be practiced and performed. The Attorney General can do that. We, for example, are reviewing contracts. We're going to court in the criminal context, but also in the civil context. That's the consumer. Usually, the consumer context is civil court. It's more about money and that kind of justice, and rather than the criminal justice. We advise the legislature. We perform legal responsibilities in the Agency of Human Services, all kinds of things. And a fun fact for you is that the Attorney General's office is the largest law office in the state. There's no law firm bigger than our office. We have 150 employees working at the Attorney General's office, including at the Consumer Assistance Program at the University of Vermont.
Yes, and we love having that office at the University of Vermont.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's been around for about 40 years, too.
Yeah, more than 40 years, I think.
Yeah, which is, I love that because that's, across the fence, we have a long and established history also with the University of Vermont, 70 years, so it's nice to have another office that shares our longevity. As the AG, what are your top priorities for 2026?
Well, it's interesting. Since last year, my priorities have been kind of presented to me by the federal government, who has unfortunately, taken a tact that has found them in court a lot because they unfortunately have violated the Constitution and federal law many, many times. I have sued the Trump administration 40 times now. So wow. I think 2026, so far it hasn't really slowed down. We continue to bring these lawsuits to protect Vermont and Vermonters, making sure that millions of dollars are coming to the state that were granted by Congress, and protecting the Constitution. So that will inevitably be my priority, as it has been this past year. When it comes to consumer issues, I was a consumer lawyer when I arrived at the Attorney General's office in 2014. So that is really always going to be top of mind for me when I'm looking at the opportunities to protect the marketplace and to protect consumers. And I'm so glad to be here talking with you about the 2025 top scams, because it is such an important issue and something that we hear about all the time from our constituents.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about the scams in a moment, but I did want to spend a little bit more time on you because I thought it was interesting. So you grew up in southern Vermont.
Yes.
And your family had a small grocery store?
That's right.
Yeah, so how did that impact your passage through the law and then eventually, finding this a path that is also very service oriented, being a part of the government?
Yeah, I like to joke, you said I'm the top cop. I like to joke I'm the top grocer because I really...
Once you start bagging groceries, you don't stop.
And I am the daughter, granddaughter, and great-granddaughter of small town Vermont grocers, so it's really a part of me. It really informed how I view community because my family's grocery store was in a small ski town, and it was really the only big store in the town, and it performed a really important role for the community. And working there, I got to see everybody, and that's where everyone went shopping.
Yeah.
So I got to see them. I got this window into kind of humanity at a young age, and it really did inform how I view, you know, the role of life and the purpose of life, and it really is to serve community and be in community. And so no surprise, I found my way to public service. I've spent most of my adult life working in public service, these past 11 years working in the Attorney General's office, which has been an absolute pleasure, and what a privilege to lead the office now.
Right. It's pretty incredible. And that community focus, I can imagine that really does come into mind when you're thinking about consumer affairs.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is, like, as you mentioned, I mean, like, this is millions of dollars out of the pockets of Vermonters every year. Talk about the Consumer Assistance Program a little bit more. So we just said it's based at the University of Vermont, been around for about 40 years, but what do they do?
So importantly, it's free. It's a service that is free. So you can call them if you have a consumer problem. A consumer problem might be, my classic example, you're on Church Street in Burlington, you buy a blender and it never works and the store refuses to take it back. Okay, you have a right to get your money back. You had, you know, damages, actual damages of the cost of the blender.
What's funny is I actually am not certain that I'm even thinking of myself as a consumer, and I don't know if I ever really think about that. As consumers, I think sometimes we are a little programmed to just sort of feel like sometimes you just come out on the bad end of a transaction and there's nothing you can do about it. But it's not the case.
That's not the
actually
case.
Something you can do.
There is a law, the Consumer Protection Act, that protects you, and there is a service, the Consumer Assistance Program, CAP, at the University of Vermont, that my office oversees, and they have a service that they can help you. They will contact the business. They, you know, will kind of mediate in between the business and you to hopefully resolve the situation. And then, of course, scams. Now, scams are not a business kind of didn't do the right thing. Scams are literal criminal enterprises, almost always overseas, and they're incredibly difficult to shut down because they'll just pop up somewhere else if you shut them down. Moreover, Vermont is not shutting down international criminal enterprises, you know. And so prevention and awareness is the most important thing. That's why I'm so happy to be here talking about this, because you know, spreading the word about these scams is a way that we can protect Vermonters.
And at that CAP office, so the UVM CAP office, something that I think is pretty unique about it that I don't know if people know is also that UVM undergrads are involved. It's actually a class, so they're actually learning about a little bit about consumer protection law. They're mediating phone calls. That's a pretty amazing thing. How did that start, where students would be involved?
That was from the beginning, the inception of the Consumer Assistance Program, and it's so wonderful. It's wonderful for us because they inspire us. It's so wonderful to work with the students, but we also are sending out into the world. I kind of think of them as like consumer lieutenants.
Yes, exactly. And we're training.
Yes, and invariably, by the end of the semester, at least one of them will say, my roommate had a problem with their iPhone, and I realized, wait a minute, the Consumer Protection Act protects you.
So now you have like a whole phalanx of UVM students who are out there now educating their peers about, wait, actually, there is something that you can do about this.
Exactly.
So let's talk then, so let's talk about scams, for example, and fraud. So the CAP program puts a lot of money back in Vermonters' pockets. It's a couple $1 million a year. Is that about right?
At least.
That's incredible. So top scams, and so we're talking, that's fraud and scams, that's like mediation, and then talking about the scams. So every year you put a report together, the office puts a report together that talks about what the top scams of 2025 are. And so we have a graphic up right now. That was the number I was saying, where it ends up being about 6 a day, but then that's just top scams, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so what do we know about, tell us about scams in 2025. What jumped out at you? Is anything different from previous years?
Well, let me first point out what's the same.
Okay.
As you can see from the pie chart, the consumer tech supports scam is a real banger. It's very effective. The most insidious scam, even look at number 2, debt collection, how many more computer tech support scams reports we got. This one is terrible, and the reason why we see so much of the pie chart taken up by this one is it's just plain effective. You know, these are criminals. They're just trying to steal your money. They're going to do whatever's effective, and this is a very effective scam. So first observation is, one, this is a very effective scam, and it continues to be in the number 1 slot. The other thing is, I got this next scam, and why debt collection is number 2. Remember the toll, the fake you have to pay this toll fee.
Yes.
Did you get that? I got it many times.
Yeah. Yep.
And unfortunately, it was very, well, I would say unfortunately for them, it was the scam market, if you will, was so saturated with the scam that it became less effective because people would text me. Like I remember one time my brother texted me a screenshot of the attempt to scam him, and the area
I don't think these
code,
people knew that they had just done this to the Attorney General's brother.
Know.
Right.
Yeah, or me. But he said he had Googled what the country code was for the phone number, and he was like, "This is in the Philippines." Like, I'm pretty sure that we didn't outsource our toll collection to the Philippines.
Well, and that, so that's actually a good point. Like people, like who's susceptible to a scam? It partly is that maybe you're just moving too quickly. Like, what's maybe some of the best advice?
So I have over the years, I figured out this is like my trick, my model. There's a formula for an effective scam. What makes an effective scam? And it is someone's trying to take your money. There's a sense of urgency.
Sense of urgency, that's the big one, because they want to get you, get your cortisol up so that now you're not thinking.
And then there's the spiking your emotions. And then you can't really confirm they are who they say they are, i.e. they're not like in person, someone you know and trust. But it is really that magical ingredient of spiking your emotions. It doesn't have to be fear, it could be excitement.
It can be excitement. I have been scammed only one time. And I was like hook, line, and sinker, which is really but so it's like you never think it's gonna happen to you until it does. But in part it's that. It's something you really want to be true, and then next thing you know, you're acting on it.
I mean, we hear all the time consumers call the office and they say, it's also clear to me now, I can't believe this happened. And it's because you're in your emotions.
Well, let's put this graphic up, because one of the pieces of advice that the CAP office publishes is this idea of slow, right? Something that you can do when you are in the middle of this type of a call. So slow, what does it stand for?
So the first thing is to slow down, just take a breath. The second, log the call, make a note of the number, hang up, but take a note of who's calling you. Then call a friend, call someone you trust, or call the Consumer Assistance Program. It's 1-800-649-2424. And the other thing is warn others. That's what the W stands for. We want you to call to make the report, even if you didn't fall for the scam. Us knowing there's, for example, a scam like that's hot today. If we get 5 scam reports about a certain scam, you're going to hear a scam alert go out from the Attorney General's office. I will record a scam alert for people who've signed up for the service. We might put out a press release to allow Vermonters to know some criminal enterprise is making a sweep in Vermont.
Isn't this fantastic? Doesn't this make you feel good to know that you have the Attorney General here who is looking out for all of us? I find this to be really wonderful. If you need help with a consumer dispute or dealing with suspected fraud or a scam, there is something you can do about it. We've put some information on your screen right now for how to reach the Consumer Assistance Program. Any final words for Vermonters about what they should do to protect themselves, just real quick?
I would just say, as a reminder, the CAP service is free. It costs nothing.
Costs nothing. So go ahead and be a part of the solution. Yes. Well, Attorney General Clark, thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, Vermont, thank you for learning and exploring with me today. And thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.